Hi guys, I wanted to talk about today how some projects can take months or years to complete and how I'm alright with it. It took me a long time to get to that point. And probably junk journal making and with the help of the junk journaling community, that has been the thing that has helped me be okay. Not like I'm not great yet. I'm still like a little bit upset that sometimes my projects take a long time, but I'm okay with things taking a very, very long time because uh, the little fractal parts of the projects, like sometimes you can get stuck on like one kind of page for a long time, which I'll get into. I'll show some examples. You're still learning and you're still enjoying yourself crafting for the most part, right? So that can be considered a finished product also. It can just get really overwhelming when all those finished products start to pile up and they don't look like finished products anymore because your creative mind is just telling you what you can continue to do with it. So here, this might be loud. Oh no, that wasn't so bad. So here are a pile of things, and these just sit on shelves, and I have way more piles, and they're very precarious, and it can be very overwhelming, but something clicked recently where I'm like, I know I'm going to get these into finished journals. Just to give a little example of one, and I'll do a flip through of this in a video. I'm going to film that later today. But here is a finished journal. It's made from all similar parts to that pile that I just showed. It has the binding, so like everything stays in. It has a bunch of pages that I've made and pockets, and it has all the sewing, and it's all in there in a finished product that hopefully at some point somebody will purchase. But along the way, I learned a bunch of skills, and I've collected a bunch of things, and I think that's something that people can get stuck on and feel like, oh no, I've just been collecting a bunch of things to make this or to do this craft or to start this hobby, and I'm an idiot because I never actually started the hobby. But sometimes collecting is a hobby in itself, or oftentimes, like when I feel like back in the day when people said they collected things, like that was a regular hobby. And I feel like maybe it's a little bit different now as things are more ephemeral and more global. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of, that ties into the whole journaling, like how every day matters, everything that happens to you matters, and like that's the like message behind journaling. That's why I'm so passionate about it. But that's talk for another day. Today I'm just talking about all of the how it can be overwhelming to have a pile of things and why it takes so long. Art takes a long time, right? So when you think about that, like sometimes people are like really fast at art, like painting, but like they had to learn how to be fast at painting or something like that. Like sometimes with junk journaling, you never stop learning. You just keep learning new, more and more skills. And they seem very stupid. Like this skill here is very stupid, but it is a skill and it is something that took time and continues to take time to do. So this is a napkin. So I didn't know anything about like napkins like this. I thought when I saw someone do it on a YouTube video, they made like a faux handmade paper, or faux rice paper, and they used the back of a napkin. So, like, taking that off, but there's one layer. So that's something that's useful. You can use it like tracing paper. You can use it as faux rice paper. You can use it as a top layer of faux handmade paper. But like, I never knew that before. So that's something that I learned. And like, I didn't even know napkins came into different layers like this, because these napkins are like, as a paper napkin, they're kind of fancy, and they have like a design on them and everything. Like, that's not something that I'm used to. Like, I use napkins for the utility of it, but it's really easy to find unused napkins at like secondhand stores, or like people, when they're done with a party, you can just kind of collect them, and then you have some materials to use. And that's kind of what junk journaling is all about, like collecting things to use to turn them into potential heaps in the landfills. Yeah, landfill fodder, and turning them into something that someone might use. So then there's a second layer, this mini layer, which has like kind of a ghosting image of the original image. So then you end up with 3 different layers. And now all of a sudden, instead of having 1 pile of napkins, I have 3 piles of napkins, and that can become overwhelming. But it's okay, just kind of put them to the side and keep your eye on it. But that is, like, pulling apart napkins is one little tiny skill that I learned along the way. And a really big skill that I learned is making handmade paper. So I learned how to make that, and I have like hundreds of little packets of handmade paper that I've made, and I have some journals that I've made. So like, this has like a pressed leaf in there. There's different, and this has some pressed flowers in there. Oh, I also learned how to press flowers. I got a flower press, and that takes so much time to press flowers, because they have to dehydrate. You have to put up like every single little hydrangea flower. You take it out and you flatten it out, and then you put it on the paper form, and then like you keep on stacking and stacking, and then that can take months to dry completely. And so that's something that takes time too. And then I made this journal, which is made out of all different kinds of paper with different mix-ins, like little pieces and just different techniques that I had to learn how to do. And that was really fun. Like, I really enjoyed making paper, and maybe I don't do it so much anymore, but I have the paper to use. And so this is a pile of paper that I have ready to go into my witchy journals coming up. So this has some like silk threads in it. And so that's 2 pages per each book. So that's 32 pages right there from a project that I did a while ago. Let's go a little bit faster, because so I learned how to dye with avocado. So I did that. That was a fun project too. And this is like how I spend my free time. This is what I enjoy doing, and like, I learn how to do these things, and it's fun. This is tea and coffee dye. And for these, I learned how to sew. So you can see I have some stitching here. So I learned, like, when I learn things like very, like, I don't know if it's deeply, or like, I don't think everybody learns this way, but I know like all the ins and outs of my sewing machine but like I have sewn some pieces, but I'm not very good at sewing like clothes yet. But I've done a lot of repairs, and I have sewn a couple of pieces, like a couple of skirts and a shirt, which I like a lot. I wear them all the time. But like the techniques of sewing I don't know so well, but the way my sewing machine works I know really well because I made a bunch of mistakes. Sewing on paper is really different from sewing on fabric. So I learned kind of the ins and outs of that. I also did stamping. So like, we all learn how to stamp when we're little, but like when was the last time you took out your stamps? But like along the way I collected a bunch of different stamps and a bunch of different stamp pads and inks. Then, you collect stickers and washi tape. Like this washi tape here, I think I got before the pandemic. So, like, these are all things that are a long time coming. Like, I've been collecting and doing these things for a long time. And hopefully, before too long, you will see the finished products of these. So here's just a bunch more pages that are sewn. And so these pages, and you can see like a lot of these are magazine and book pages. Like that takes time to collect also. So I collect most of them from in my house. Like I live in my childhood home now. And my parents have lived here for like over 40 years. So the amount of stuff is really overwhelming, and I know there's like kind of a hoarder tendency that lends itself well to making junk journals, but it takes time to go through all those books, like to find the books that would be good, and then to go through all of the pages of the books to find the pages that would look good, or like not necessarily look good, but that would serve you well. And to find pages that would serve you well often means like if they're durable enough, if they're thick enough, if they're big enough to turn into double sheets and fit into your journals. So like these are all things that I might talk about in future videos. So here's another pocket page. This is from like a 6x6 cardstock paper pad. So I made some pockets in there, and so I made like hundreds of those little pockets, and then they're just standing up on a shelf in a precarious stack, and that can get really intimidating if you let it, but just don't. I guess that's what I'm saying. Don't let it. So here's some book page pockets that I made. And I made a bunch of those. And these are just a bunch of pages that I cut to size. Like learning how to use a paper cutter, that's also a little skill that I've done. It's silly, I laugh, because my husband and I actually work at a print shop. He works there a lot more than I do. I'm more of a seasonal worker, but like there's this like big industrial paper cutter there, and I learned how to use that. That was fun. But then also most of my paper cutting happens at home with scissors or like with one of those little paper cutters that I got from a coworker at Target Optical. So these are things that I've been collecting for years. Here's some examples of some book pages. So there's a book about like, I don't know, I think it was called like Midnight on Tuesday or something, and it just is a picture book about how a bunch of like frogs took over the night. I don't know, but yeah, I took it and I unbound it. So unbinding pages from inside of a book, that takes a really long time, and it is a skill that I have. Identifying books that are sewn in signatures instead of glued in. Perfect binding, or like I know a whole bunch about binding now, which I didn't know before. And I learned how to use like a staple remover to help me remove the strings. I learned how to use a seam ripper. I'm really good at that. And this was, it's called Tuesday, this book. So here's the front page, and I'll probably put it in. So like you can see these pages are really big. And so they will make for good base pages in journals for me. But yeah, I've been saving these frog pages because frogs make me think of witches, and I think they would lend themselves well to witchy journals. Let's see. Alright, these are the folders that I made in my other video. So now I have a pile of these, which used to be just piles of like cardstock paper pads from the craft store, and like they're a little bit less intimidating, or like they're a little bit less intimidating now that I made them into something that I can put into a journal later. But they do take up more space, especially more vertical space if you stack them than the paper pads. But yeah, it feels really good. It used to feel like intimidating to have the paper pads because my brain didn't know exactly what to do with them. But now it's really satisfying to finish a paper pad and go all the way through a paper pad and be like, oh, I turned that into something instead of just letting it sit there for a long time. Alright, here's some other dyed paper. This, like, I don't know if I used fabric dyes. Like, sometimes I tie-dye things, like my overalls. And I use like the leftovers to dye paper, because why not? And then this is just some tissue paper that I found in the house in the gift wrapping pile, and I cut it into pages, and I'll use those in these books. These are actually grocery bags, paper grocery bags, that I think I might have sprayed these, so when you are finished with a Sharpie, there's still some ink inside of the barrel of the Sharpie, so if you put a bunch of dead Sharpies into some rubbing alcohol, it will get a bunch of the ink out, and then you can use a spray bottle and spray it onto things like this. And then these, I believe I just painted, like regularly painted some printer paper, and then I probably sprayed some kind of metallic paint on there. So I have a bunch of those. And then speaking of the Sharpies and rubbing alcohol, if you get like a piece of plastic, and I have a piece of plastic here, but I don't want to make too much noise, but it's just like a cereal bag that I have on the table at all times so I can do these kind of crafts. So like if you color with the Sharpie and then you spray the alcohol on, and then you lay some tissue paper or regular paper on top, you can get these designs like this. Or this. And so like that was a really fun project for me to do. Sometimes if my brain gets like really like if it needs to just do something, so it's really nice to have these, like you can watch TV while you're doing it, and it like the results come out pretty good. You can kind of just experiment along the way. And even though I just have a pile of these have already served as something because my husband scanned them in and he used them as backgrounds for some of his art pieces. So, and they can have lots of lives. And then now that he's scanned them in, we can use them forever. We can use the images from them forever. And I can use the physical papers in the actual journal. And then the thing that I have the most of is covers. So there's some covers of actual books, like I said, I live in my parents' house, so there's a bunch of hardcover books, a bunch of like old, outdated dieting books that they have. There's old, outdated medical books and textbooks, and those have nice hardcovers that I've taken all the insides out and I'm just ready to turn into journals and notebooks and stuff. So like it's just plain paper on the inside that you like take to your biology 101 class and you're taking notes, but it's in like anatomy of the heart or something from a long time ago. You know what I mean. So I have a bunch of those sitting in a pile in my closet, and then I have a bunch of ones that I made myself and decorated myself. So these are all made out of cereal or cracker boxes, and I covered them with fabric. And like learning how to sew, this is why I learned how to sew, so I can cover these pages in fabric, or these covers in fabric. But then just having my sewing machine out, and well, it's my mom's sewing machine, but it's mine now. But having the sewing machine out and just being able to use it, like that's why I learned how to make some pieces of clothing. I also learned how to make some pencil bags. So it's a lot of skills that I've learned. And then like I learned how to do these more intricate kind of borders. And here's a good one. It has like the heartbeat monitor kind of look to it. And like this fabric is something that I just found in my house. And so I have a bunch of fabric that's just that. This is a fabric that I think I got from a thrift store, but I dyed it this darker blue. So it's more interesting than just like the white flowers it was. This is one that I actually purchased, I think probably from Joann's. It's a nice felt. And this was after I knew that I was going to be making these specific journals. And then this is another one that I purchased. And then I just like a bunch of different kinds of sewing in all of those. And so like all of those things I've collected. This is like some bad printing, like a print job that went wrong, so I collected that from the print shop. I collect some stickers, and like just collecting and looking at the stickers, that is a hobby for me too, and I enjoy it. And then washi tape, of course. So this is a fun washi tape that I actually just got from Amazon. And so like I'm probably going to put this washi tape on these off prints, and then I'll put them into the journals in some pockets. So I don't know how long I've been talking. I'm really out of practice of doing YouTube videos. Let's see. Okay, 24 minutes, so I can edit that down. So yeah, so it will turn into, like all of this will turn into 16 journals, and I will be able to show you those at the end. But it can be overwhelming to have like piles of different things. I didn't even get into ribbons that I have sitting over there. There's a whole lot more inserts, like cards and things that I've Like sometimes I just sit and put stickers onto little inserts like this, or I put the washi tape onto little strips like that to put into the pockets of the journal. If you stay tuned for the next video that I do, which will be a flip through of that this galaxy journal that I have, then you'll be able to see more of what I'm talking about. So I'll film that right now. So stay tuned for that. But thanks so much for watching. If you are feeling like you're in a place where you're overwhelmed, try to think back of all the skills that you learned and all the possibilities that you have and all the fun that you had along the way, because that stuff's important. It can be really easy to be down on yourself, but if you put yourself in like a productive mindset, but like just cherish the life moments and it'll all be okay. All right, bye.